All good things must come to an end, which explains why this episode ends on a cliffhanger ending. Talk about the world's most optimistic sequel bait. Robyn and LJ are lying in bed. LJ is shirtless, but Robyn has a t-shirt on. They must have their L-shaped sheets in the wash. Robyn's reminiscing about her and Jill play sword fighting on the bed and scratching the ceiling and trying to hide the evidence. This scene is weird in that they're talking about the ceiling as if it were somewhere else, talking about a ceiling they can't see. Instead of pointing at it, she's describing it, when they're looking right at it. Mum's okay with it though. I mean, why wouldn't she be? It's not as if it's her property. Got him. They even say it would be different if it were her room. LJ misses his Lionheart ring. My question is, why aren't the cops breaking the door down after they escape from police custody? If this police department is so corrupt they'll take their citizens to Gitmo, why aren't they rolling up and frog marching everyone back to their cage? Again, with the inconsistency. Maybe having a scene lying in bed was a bad idea. Their voices sound so monotone. I know, I can talk, right? But you can always tell the different tone that comes from someone lying down. Wait, so they got their eviction notice and then went back to bed? They didn't go find Mum or the neighbours or their lawyer to discuss this very pressing issue? But then... They've got 1 day to evacuate? What kind of contract did the city sign? Yeah, we know there's 1,000 people living there, but we'll just force them all to find new lodgings and to organise removalist vans within 24 hours. No worries. And the extra strain on the surrounding suburbs, schools, buses, etc.? The change of ownership comes into effect at dawn? Usually these things change hands at midnight. Did they get Robyn Hood mixed up with a Western? It's removalist vans at dawn, you yellow-bellied varmint! So the sheriff is announcing their eviction with a megaphone. What happens if you're on the other side of the building? Tough luck. You don't get to hear the announcement? At work? Nah. Who am I kidding? The bums of Sherwood don't have jobs. Maybe they're out scoring some weed. Too bad. Redcap's there and he bonds with the sheriff over their hopes that the residents won't go quietly so they can start blasting. Hang on a minute. If the sheriff told him to be here by her side, why wasn't he at Gitmo? And why aren't they storming the place to get the escaped residents? And the Hood? They seem to have totally forgotten that the Hood exists. Much is moving in with Alan's mum. Does Alan live with his mum? Tucking into Much's food to save her from moving it. I could have sworn he was eating pickled onions from the jar, which is fine, we've all been there, but he's got open wounds on his fingertips. That's some salty vinegar in those cuts. You're supposed to avoid torture, man. Or did you get a taste for it in Gitmo? Wait, is it a jar of grapes? Who puts their grapes in a jar? Is this a Canadian thing that I wouldn't understand? So 2 episodes ago, when Robyn stole Marion's USB key and Tuck cracked the encryption, did they not take a copy for themselves and leave them decrypted on Marion's USB key? Are they working with her or in spite of her? John Prince is buying up property and keeping it from the council. Why? He's a property developer. Wouldn't they want to sell property to someone who has experience with property? The better the development, the more they can charge on council rates and property taxes. Marion's got a friend she can talk to about Prince, but she's doing it alone because she's got the files illegally. The Hood reveal themselves to Tracy in the most boring way possible. Hey, we need your help. I'm not working with someone who won't show their face. Okay, bum. No. Tracy rallies the residents. And Elmore. Isn't he homeless? Or has he just moved in? Maybe he shacked up with some bird. But did they need to have the Hood striking a pose behind her while she delivered her speech? No one's going to pipe up? No one's already made arrangements? So their grand plan is to barricade themselves into the building. How long is that going to last? Days? A week? Once the toilet stops flushing, it's going to get stinky. Tuck has some random guy install a security camera. The guy waves like he's testing it, and Tuck waves back. What a galoot. Jill and David have been recruiting for the Hood, and Robyn's not having it. So Robyn's not upset that Jill's just giving away the facts she knows of the Hood. She's worried for her safety. They're acting like Robyn is some sort of military genius. All her plans are basically, let's go get the thing. There's never any observation or information gathering. The best they've done is to make a model of the area, which is pointless because these people live there. They know where the doors are. They know where they can hide. Much has made Robyn a folding bow to replace the antique bow that the sheriff destroyed last episode. Lol, she unfolds it and it's already strung. She's even made some explosive tipped arrows? Tracy gets visited by the ghost of Lionheart. Wait, is Lionheart Robyn's dad? Tuck's setting Tracy up with an OnlyFans account. At least that's what I think is happening. She'll be streaming across the whole interwebs. Marion's big idea is to go see the mayor. Like I said, the mayor is not surprised that a property developer is buying properties. But it looks like the mayor has thrown Marion under the bus and Prince is here with his hired goons.
Hired goons?
Sheriff and Redcap are getting it on in her office again. This show needs to warn me before the sheriff is shown in her undies again. I need time to go get my welding helmet on to shield my eyes from the brilliant glare of her lily white skin. When they said they wanted the evil people to all be white, they weren't mucking around. My eyes! So while they're getting dressed, Redcap loads a magazine into his pistol. Did they use that pistol for something that they had to remove the magazine? The sheriff gives Redcap the Lionheart ring. Why that one particular piece of jewellery? They never showed it being discussed that it was anything more than another piece of jewellery, and not that LJ is anyone of note to the sheriff. John Prince takes Marion's phone off her and smashes it on his coffee table. Luckily, the battery didn't burst into flames. Lithium batteries will burst into flames when punctured, and he basically drove a rock through the screen. Surely he's not going to trust that the phone had the only copies of his files. Robyn says to LJ, "It doesn't matter if we win, it matters if we fight." Surely the better line will be, "It doesn't matter if we lose." Of course it matters if you win, it's your home. Although I'm not sure why they expect the eviction to be overturned. Squatters' rights, brah.
Hey, squatters' rights! You get out of here now!
So Tuck has a tracker on Marion's phone, but Alan needed the plain Jane chick from the police server building to access the hard drives to get the security footage to see that Marion met Prince. Wouldn't the phone tracker show her at Prince's place anyway? I guess you could argue that this way they know that she was taken against her will. So LJ is going to go rescue Marion because he knows she means a lot to Robyn. What a simp. But someone finally uses the bike for transport. Hooray! Robyn's got a big night of handling balls planned.
Got enough balls to handle here.
What?
Wait, so it's morning? The police have the building surrounded. But if anyone tries to leave, they'll arrest them. But isn't that what you want them to do? You're supposed to be forcing them to leave. Why deter them from doing what you want? Unless you know the only people leaving are leaving to thwart your plans. They jam the airwaves, but not the electricity, the water, the gas. The peepholes in the doors of Sherwood don't have glass in them? Because Jill squirts pepper spray through the peephole. And I noticed David didn't get a mask. Boo! Robyn fires a pepper spray arrow all of 5 meters and smokes the police out. Could have just thrown it. The bow was totally superfluous. Their broadcast is still going out because they're on an Ethernet connection. Tuck says it's one of the advantages of living in an old building. Bro, the best connections are all hardwired. Fiber to the premises is king. Redcap spots LJ leaving through the servants' entrance and announces that he spotted a Sherwooder leaving the premises, and he's in pursuit. The sheriff, who told him to arrest anyone that leaves, calls him off. She even says, "Let him go," even though Redcap never mentioned gender. So Marion gets Prince monologuing. Seriously? Why does he need to tell her his plan? Why couldn't they find them in the files? So anyway, Prince has bought all the property between Sherwood and the lake, including the dam. He's going to make a breach in the dam look like an accident and flood the entire area and have it as exclusive rich people housing. That makes no sense. He's spending millions to make thousands. He would be better off just renting out the property and living elsewhere. Hang on, he was building developments in the area already in the first episode. Is he going to flood them too? This makes no sense. The only reason to do this and not just build a rich people enclave elsewhere is to be near the amenities that the city has. But it won't have those amenities if the city's underwater. This is the most short-sighted evildoer plan I think I've ever heard. Prince was going to claim Marion committed suicide with one of his own swords in his own home? But LJ busts in and ruins Prince's fun. Redcap somehow makes it all the way through the barricaded tower to Tracy's unit. He gives probably the best line of the series. "Honey, I'm home."
Honey, I'm home.
Prince threatens Marion by telling her that if she goes to the press, who he has control over, that he will tell everyone her dad killed himself. Why is that a threat? Is she a Catholic? If anything, it will make her even more sympathetic. These voice modulators that the Hood use are really making it difficult to understand their lines.
You sure you want to go out that way?
Redcap's threatening Tracy to finish what he started, and Robyn just shoots him in the back. Surely that would incapacitate you. The pain would be excruciating. If he's such a psycho, he would just shoot her. He would be justified, but I guess he wanted to go for a bit of fisticuffs. Robyn sees that he has Lionheart's ring on and uses the old Batman cape twirl maneuver to dazzle Redcap. She holds her own for a while, but Director X manages to subvert expectations by having our brave hero get her ass whooped by the obviously stronger male. He even spits on her in contempt. He then decides to join Prince in a bit of monologuing and describes how the sheriff wanted Tracy's death to look like an accident, but killed by the Hood is even better. But of course, in this time, Tracy's managed to get the computer back online and streaming again, so his entire monologue has gone out to the world. Then Robyn comes out of nowhere, like literally nowhere, and caves his skull in with the Franger container. Cookie jar. She barely had enough time to reach Redcap from her position, but somehow she managed to grab the cookie jar from the kitchen on the way. Tuck creates a loop and replays it on the interwebs, but the loop was of a pretty lackluster part of Redcap's monologue. There were much juicier lines about how he was going to kill Tracy and make it look like the leader of the Hood killed her. Or the bit where he pointed his gun at an unarmed, crippled woman. The sheriff is in the back of the ambulance with Redcap, so somehow they got him out, or the residents kicked his unconscious body out. It's unknown. But he's saying he wishes there was something he could do. The sheriff says there is and whispers, "I belong to you too," in his ear. Why? Then she injects him with upwards of 3 marijuanas. Don't worry, there won't be an autopsy. Wait, so Prince has lost the battle for Sherwood? But he still legally owns the towers. Just because the sheriff wanted to kill a woman doesn't nullify the contract. Robyn gets caught by LJ smooching Marion. That guy just can't catch a break. After all he did for her? So I assume that the mayor's going to veto the sale, even though she could have before. But now John Prince is going to run for mayor. But wouldn't they have rules about the mayor voting for their own benefit? Surely he would have to recuse himself. The sheriff is announcing that the Hood are wanted for the murder of Gilbert Redcap. Gilbert! This sets us all up for a thrilling Season 2. Speaking of 2, honestly I want to give this episode a 2, but that's a bit harsh. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. I'll give it a 4. Very few decisions made in this episode make any sense. The sheriff can't even surround a building, and lets the one guy who can stop her go free. They jam the Wi-Fi, but not the internet. They send a police officer on his own again. The two biggest villains are not undone by any quick thinking or bravery on the part of our heroes. Instead, they both get caught by their own big mouth and their assistance upon monologuing. The cops don't even attempt to recapture the people who escaped Gitmo. The people who were tortured in Gitmo don't even attempt to go to the media or report to the mayor about their treatment at the hands of the police. Contrivances abound. The odds that the sheriff would give Redcap Lionheart's ring and that he would wear it while fighting Robyn. The fact they jammed the airwaves, yet Tuck was already using an Ethernet connection instead of having it as a fallback. The timing of LJ to approach just as Marion and Robyn kiss. This show needs to grow a pair and just commit to a lesbian relationship, or be done with it. Whatever happened to Guy of Gisborne? He never did get his comeuppance. He just blended into the crowd and died from cringe after hearing his own rapping. Chet wasn't around either. I guess he turned over a new leaf after being kidnapped by the Hood. The plot makes no sense. John Prince's plan makes no sense and would cost more money than he would ever make. He'd also lose a fortune after the dams break. His plan is equivalent to burning down your house to get rid of a mouse. For the season as a whole, I'll give it a 2. It's not worth your time. The show can't make up its mind if the villains are the world's biggest monsters or comically inept. They're shooting people for no reason in one episode and refusing to infringe on people's rights the next. The heroes just are never shown to be likeable. I have no reason to cheer them on. They commit crimes purely to benefit themselves, with a side order of community benefit, which they also benefit from. The only Hood member I kind of liked was Tuck, and that's only because the show tried to make him the comedy relief. But when your plan is insane, only the insane seem to be sane. The best character was John Prince. He seemed to have very clear motivations when he was just a greedy, insensitive property developer. But then the show tried to make him into some kind of megalomaniac evil genius to up his threat level, and it just falls flat on its face. He seems more like a moronic buffoon in the end. The gender swapping of Robyn/Robyn made no difference to the plot. They could have had some sort of benefit to being a woman, like being able to blend into a crowd of bathing beauties or being able to flirt their way past security. But nope, a guy does that in this show. Maybe they could have had a sexist member of the group who doubts her leadership, but butter wouldn't melt in these dweebs' mouths. Oh well, it can only get better in Season 2, as if that's going to get the go-ahead. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, please consider subscribing. I release reviews occasionally when time allows, and a thumbs up would be a big motivator for further reviews. If you didn't like it, feel free to leave a thumbs down and let me know how I can improve in the comments below. Anyway, I'm Mixie, thanks for your time, and have a good one.